Welcome to the Market Mystics podcast, where we discuss what's happening in the cryptosphere and trading on Earth as it is in heaven. Buckle up and huddle on while we dive in and get weird. Here are your hosts, Joshua and Kim.
Hello, all you beautiful people out there. Welcome to another fantastic Monday. I think today's going to be, this week should be good. We're ending up, I know we've talked a lot about kind of the new thing we want to move into and tease the idea. We're getting closer to the end of January, closer to stepping into season 2, and still some of the pieces for that haven't fallen into place yet. So I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but I'm excited for it. I think where I'm sitting today is just like, oh, how do we wrap out season 1 like in a good way, in a perfect way? And what should we talk about? And so we don't actually have a plan for today's conversation. We've talked about a lot of things. Some of the things we don't want to share publicly. Some of the things are just personal in our lives. And so we're like, oh, we'll just click record. We'll have a conversation. We'll see what happens.
Half the time we have a conversation and we say, oh, we should have just been recording this. So this time we're just going to record it and have a conversation and see where it goes. Before we do that, however, let's look at some market updates, which, by the way, are pretty remarkable. I'm just going to give that spoiler before I even talk about it. Bitcoin is up 0.1% over 24 hours. However,
remarkable.
It's up 22.2% over 7 days.
There it is.
It actually, over the weekend, did hit 21,000 for just a moment and then came back down. Right now, it's 20,865, which for the last 3 months, probably, it's been hanging around 17,000. So almost at 21,000. That is the remarkable part. That was a big move. And to not just touch and then go right back to 17. There's been a little bit of staying power, I suppose, at least for a few days. So hoping this isn't just a blip, but we'll see. It's not the end of the world if it is, right? Okay, so Ethereum, very similar, even over 24 hours, but up 20% over 7 days. It's hanging out at $1,543. Our biggest mover in the top 100, which I am happy to say because I have always kind of liked this coin, is Mana, which is Decentraland. It's the number 40 coin. It's up 15.75% over 24 hours and up 81% over 7 days. If you look beyond that, it's up over 100% in the last 30 days, which is pretty great. So it's hanging pretty steady incline, and that is wonderful. Right now it's trading at 68.5 cents ish. Mana is one of those coins I think we've both watched for
quite a while,
3 years, 2 or 3 years. I'm not saying it's something you should trade, but it's just one of those that's always kind of been on our radar. So they claim to be the first fully decentralized world. Decentraland is controlled by the DAO, which owns the most important smart contracts and assets of Decentraland. So people get to vote on what happens in this world, but this is the metaverse. There are a few of these big ones out there that are functioning, and I mean, they're selling land, and they have the NFTs that you can actually use in the game. It's different than just a piece of art that's an NFT. But Decentraland is up and running, fully functioning metaverse, always evolving. I'm not really interested in the game itself. I've just always been interested in the coin, which kind of goes against everything we've talked about, but for whatever reason has always been highlighted. So just truth there.
Yeah, it's been, I remember the first time I found it and having a conversation with you and a couple other people about it, and not really knowing what it was and what it was about. But yeah, it's constantly been on the radar. A while back, it was sort of teased that maybe Facebook would buy it for their metaverse. To my knowledge, I don't think that ever actually happened. And so Decentraland is just a functioning metaverse, and
Right.
it's unique, it's new, and they're playing around with ideas of does this work, does not work, and it's pretty fun to watch.
That's true. I was on their website because I like to pull quotes from the actual companies before I talk about them. And funny thing, I shouldn't actually say this because this just makes me sound really uneducated, but I'm looking at like their graphics that are going on in the background on their landing page. And it just reminds me so much of Roblox. So my daughter, who is 6, plays Roblox. And I'm like, oh, Decentraland looks just like Roblox. Which may not be the worst comparison. I mean, Roblox is quite the
In
I
a
don't
way, it's a metaverse.
it is. It just doesn't operate on a blockchain.
Hmm.
So essentially that's kind of what this is. It is on the blockchain. So that's I don't know, just a funny thing. So, but I I don't know if it must have all these different games and stuff in it. Maybe I should actually look into it. But I don't do Roblox. I only watch my daughter do it.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can get some young kids to get in here and play some Decentraland and give us a better idea of what it's about.
We'll start a Twitch channel.
There you go.
We'll just have
Perfect.
guests on to play in the metaverse.
I think it would be pretty fun to have um, a digital. We've talked about it, like doing a digital podcast where it's in VR in the metaverse, and you're just fully immersed. And instead of on Zoom, it just feels like you're sitting next to someone.
I know. Okay, so first I have to learn how to play a game.
Yes. Yes.
You're a bit more advanced in this area than I am.
Maybe. Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, gardenscapes.
uh, yeah, it's kind of interesting because the conversation we had last week was we called the episode "Let's Play a Game," and it was just kind of like I remember ending it by saying I at least want people to know they're playing a game, because if you know you're playing a game, then you can position yourself and you can play it. If you don't know you're playing a game, it's when you can get taken advantage of, and it's a lot harder position. But I think about that with a lot of these things that we deal with is it's like, one of the core principles for who we are and some of the other programs we're involved in is like fun,
Mhm.
and the importance of kind of making things fun and enjoyable and childlike and game like, because that's, I mean, you think about it. I think this is interesting. One of the other major metaverses is called Sandbox.
Mhm.
And they called it that because the sandbox as in a childhood was like your place to imagine. Like you get in the sandbox, you could build a castle, you could build the Wild West, you could build whatever because it was unlimited. It was what your
Mhm.
imagination could hold. And that was what, they tried to build this metaverse based off of that concept. And I think that's so unique of just the idea of sitting down with something and saying, what could I what could I possibly imagine this to be like? Actually, I have a quote on my desk from Albert Einstein. Um, I'll show it to you guys. If you're watching YouTube or Facebook, you'll see. Um, but shout out to Bree for the artwork. But it says, logic will get you from A to Z, imagination will get you everywhere. And I think that is such a fascinating quote because it really is, your imagination is your tool that God has given you to engage with possibilities.
Hmm.
And I think that's just so, it's often, it stops getting used when we grow up because we want logic, we want answers, we want um, black and white. And in the imagination, in the sandbox, there isn't black and white. I mean, if you've ever played
Right.
make believe with a kid, in half a second, you may be playing one game and then all of a sudden they're playing a different game and the rules totally changed. And in an adult's mind, it's like, oh, well, like that's not what we were doing. And in the kid's mind, it's like, oh, like who cares? Like it's
Easy
make, yeah.
transition. Yeah.
And I think that's part of what we're called to do in life is to be able to imagine these wild possibilities, these crazy lives, to just sit with things and imagine what could it be like, because I think that's where innovation comes from.
Hmm.
And we talk a lot about being fans of innovation, but innovation comes from seeing something and saying there's a better way of doing that, or there's no reason to do that. We can do something totally different. Like, but it I would argue that nothing in your physical world other than maybe a human or an animal, but like inanimate objects that you look around and see, would argue that all of those started in someone's imagination.
Hmm.
Someone imagined the possibility of having a face-to-face meeting with somebody in different cities, and now Kim and I are recording on Zoom. Someone imagined the need for everything that I'm looking at and created it. But it started by them imagining and innovating and saying, oh, like, yeah, we have paper, but how can we make notebooks better? How can we make computers better? And it's, I just think imagination and play is a tool that is been lost. And in some regard, I think the metaverse is encouraging people to do that again,
Hmm.
giving adults a place to imagine. Maybe. I've not spent a lot of time there, but I think it's possible.
I think it's possible as well. And I like some of the points you're making because I tend to think I'm I have all these thoughts about it, so I'm going to try to make it concise. Sorry. Um but I tend to think like you're talking about kids playing and the infinite possibility of things. And I think about when even in scripture it talks about like having faith like a child. I
Mm,
think some of that is pointing toward uh the limitlessness that they're able to have.
mm,
As adults, we try to put things in a pretty little box and put a nice bow on it and present it to whomever to say, here, this is. This is how I think about this. This is what I believe. This is who God is. This is what Jesus did. This is whatever it is, right? Like we like to wrap it up in a nice little box and present it. Whereas kids, they see, oh, here's the starting point. Let's see what's beyond that too.
mm, mm,
And I think that's some of the point of that faith like a child. Like they don't have to see something and see it as finite. They can see that there's God and then they go, but what else is he? Not
mhm,
like he is this, it is what else? Like, what
mhm,
else can he do? If he's eternal, and what else? Show me what else he's going to do. And then you start seeing walls being broken down and things expanding. You see kingdoms being built, and it's all because they're willing to think outside of just what they're presented with.
yeah.
And I think, I mean, that's what you're talking about, the sandbox concept. And I think it is something we need to think about even in our faith walk. Like, can we exist as sons of God and not just think this is the finite truth. Can we exist as sons of God and be willing to look for what's beyond what we see
Mm.
and what we know? Like, can we continually be seeking him and saying, but what else? But what else? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. We've talked before about, at least my personal opinion, on the importance of questions. Like, I think it's dangerous when you stop asking questions
Mm-hmm.
because it implies you found the answer. And I think with God, the possibilities of endless exploration exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't ever want to stop asking questions about how that walk happens. And I just think about the word like wonder, and a it's such a common word, but like so deep and powerful to like to be in wonder, to sit in wonder. And it's just like I think wonder is an invitation to explore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think, that's been the journey you and I have been on, is exploring crypto. What does crypto look like? What is crypto? What is this stuff? What is the financial system? What is the dollar? And then also exploring in our faith and just sitting in wonder and being like, "Oh, wow, God, I experienced you like this today, but like wow, what's the possibilities for tomorrow and the next day?" And like, yeah, that I think that sense of wonder is is important. And I can tell you in my own personal life, it can also be frustrating because oftentimes wonder brings questions, and a lot of times my questions just breed more questions. And it's like, oh man, like how many like where's the solutions to these? And I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying like when you open the box of questions, sometimes a lot of questions form.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's that wonderment, that searching out that makes it real for you, because I think experience is underrated. Um, it's experiencing life, experiencing God, experiencing relationships with one another. Like, I just think it's underrated. Like, there's so much to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think number one, I think a lot. I'm just realizing this, so my apologies. But I tend to also think about like wonder doesn't have you sitting in the same place forever.
Mm,
It does lead to exploration, like you're talking about. And it's not about standing still, not that being still is wrong or bad or anything like that, but it's like constant advancement, right? And even sometimes wonder will get you down a path where you wind up hitting a wall and there's nowhere further to go. And then you back up and you wander down another path. And I'm saying wonder, not wander, because I think there's a
yes.
difference between
Yeah.
like wondering what's out there. Like it's this pondering. It's like, what are the possibilities? I think wandering is aimless.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
It's you could wander around forever and never find anything because there's no point to it. But when you wonder, you're like forging new paths and you are searching and you are trying to figure things out. And there's a difference. And I think it's the wondering, like you can wander down a path. Well, what does this path bring? Where do I go with this? If this, then that, right? Or if this, then what?
Hmm. Yeah.
Right? It's a little different.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. I think I just encourage people to sit and wonder, to sit with your imagination. Like allow God to use your imagination. Allow him to purify and cleanse your imagination and use it to explore ideas and concepts. And yeah, I think asking questions and imagining possibilities leads to really amazing innovations.
Totally agree. And don't forget to have fun with it.
Yeah,
Not
so
everything
true.
is serious. Some things are, but not everything is serious. And it's okay to have fun. And that might even get you down a path faster.
That's true. That's true. Skipping is faster than walking.
True.
Good. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Sit with your imagination. Message us on social media. Let us know what you guys are wondering about. I would love to have conversations with some of you about that. Until then, we'll see you soon.
See you next time. Thank you for listening. Join us every Monday and Thursday as we discuss trading on earth as it is in heaven. If you want to connect further, follow us on social media at market.mystics for Instagram and TikTok, and search for Market Mystics on YouTube and Facebook. If you still need more, follow the link on Facebook to book a coaching appointment. Until next time, see ya.